What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to the good sister. She is a pop culture impresario, a lover of all things, a host of the 83 After 83 Weeks podcast with Eric Bischoff and Steve Kaufman. She's the one, the only, Christy Olson. Christy, what's going on?
Yay. Hey, Adam. Not a whole lot. I just got off of the Wrestling Inc. podcast today discussing all of the releases that went down and all the day's news. Him and I like to pop a little drink because it's Friday. So I am drinking Brandy Rhodes' Whoa Baby wine, which is really great. Suggest it. 10 out of 10 recommend. So yeah, I just love to, we're just going to hang, I think, for a little Friday afternoon and have some fun. I'm ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Which there was a whole lot of like wormholes, like you're drinking, but you're not necessarily on a road, and you're not drinking brandy. There's a whole lot of things there that you can digest, and I don't know.
Get your wordplay going.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I hang out with Flobo Boys too much. That's what happens. That's what happens.
Love him. Again, 10 out of 10 recommend Flobo Boys.
Hell yes. But I mean, Christy, obviously people know you from your time in NXT, everything that you're doing on ad-free shows, the stuff that you did with E. But I mean, how did it all kind of start with you? Like to go between the lines of the podcast and the website and everything like that. But like, how did it really start for you?
I think I always kind of knew that I would end up in news or TV or some aspect of that. Growing up, I was obsessed with like watching Mary Tyler Moore and MTV's VJ Search, and just I don't know that I knew back then that that's what it was, but always kind of have been so into pop culture. I grew up as a young kid. I watched wrestling with my dad, and have always been obsessed with reality TV specifically as well. So when the internet got huge, when I was like, I don't know, 12 or so, I'm dating myself, but I started creating websites and really getting into like the online world. I was a big fan of Sweet Valley High back then. That's what my first ever website was about. So the internet was a place where I kind of started to share my love of all things pop culture with other people, and it all kind of just rolled from there, YouTube. And I eventually started my own blog. When I first moved to Los Angeles, I was working behind the scenes, and everybody said the way to get in front of the camera was to really just start doing it yourself. So that's what I did. And man, it's been a crazy ride.
Yeah, no, I mean, what a ride it's been. Now, Sweet Valley High, was that the TV show?
Yeah. TV show, and I'm going to sacrifice my camera here for a second, but TV show and book series.
Wow, that's commitment.
That's just one shelf.
Oh, Jesus. Wait, I mean, since we're showing, look at the ever-increasing Funko Pop wall.
Yeah. Ooh, those are fun. I like that. Some collections I don't understand. People are into things that I maybe necessarily don't hit on, but that's cool. Yeah. Do you have some rare ones in there?
I don't know the rare, but if I like a band, if I like an artist, like I've got some, like I think I've got a Tupac and a Biggie. I'm a big fan of Ghost, so I've got Papa Emeritus too. I've got all of the
cool.
Yeah, I've got Ace Frehley, because he and Peter Criss are the only KISS members that I acknowledge. So there you go. The other, yeah. Oh,
savage.
I'm just saying. Okay. So Paul Stanley, I don't know who was selling this, but there was like this person who's also a notable musician was at the studio with the kid, and Paul Stanley walks in. And the dad is freaking out. The fellow musician is freaking out, right? And it's like, holy shit, it's like in Paul Stanley from KISS. It's a star child, right? And the kid who also likes KISS doesn't put the two and two together, right? But a case of KISS action figures adorning, Paul Stanley's face comes, and he's just like, oh my God, and starts to do the thing, right? And then Paul Stanley leans into the kid, who couldn't have been more than kindergarten age, was like, hey, you like these? Okay, cool. Tell your dad to go down the road and buy one. Whoa. So to me, and yeah, why kick people when they're down? Why kick people when they're down? Ace and Paul, Ace and Peter Criss were going through drug addictions, right? And you just kind of cast them off. And got two other guys just to play their parts. That's sacrilege, my God.
You know what? And it's giving me Destiny's Child vibes right now. I think as much as you know about the revolving door of the Kiss roster, I'm getting I've got you on Beyonce, Kelly, Farrah, Michelle, Destiny, all the ones everybody forgot about. LaToya was my fave. Latavia.
Yeah.
Forever.
Oh, there's llawsuits literally against Matthew Knowles and Tina Knowles.
As there very well should have been.
Yeah. Steve Tatum says Christy Olson on According to Woods. Awesome. What's up,
Hey, Steve.
Yeah,
Yay.
man. Oh, you talked about it. Wasn't it a performance that Destiny, the final three, right? It was almost like Survivor. Pardon the pun, because Destiny shout Survivor.
I'm a survivor. That just came up on my Spotify this afternoon when I was putting my makeup on.
See?
Classic.
Yeah, I'm just saying. But wasn't there a clip of like Michelle Williams falling off the stage, and they were in the middle of Bootylicious, and like they just kept on going. The other two just kept on going while she fucking fell off of stage. It was infamous.
How symbolic. How incredibly symbolic.
Yeah. But I think she went on to do something with Nelly. Oh, no, that's the other one.
I mean, they've all got plenty of money. Yeah, Michelle and Kelly had their solo careers as well, and they're never gonna be hurting. So.
No, not at all. But I mean, so your love of Sweet Valley High. But at what point do you like, hey, maybe I should take the next step? Because you can love something but not get on the business end of it, and especially you, who kind of figured out the website, the online presence, not just an on-air personality, but the back end of the technical stuff that I don't want to do, really. That's why I have StreamYard.
Well, no one really has to do it anymore. Nowadays, it's all automatic anyway. But what really happened for me was that despite loving all that stuff, I didn't know that I could make a living off of it. So I went into hard news. Starting in college, I studied broadcast journalism and worked for the local TV station there, our university station, and was covering, local politics and police goings on and missing persons and things like that. And I kind of went, this isn't what I want my everyday life to be, interviewing people who've just been through a tragedy and that kind of thing. Just, I have a lot of respect for it. I have a lot of friends who do it. And there's a lot of intricacies to it. I didn't want to do that. I want to talk about fun stuff. I can honestly say, I don't want to say I've never worked a day in my life, but I've always loved what I've done and always felt uncomfortable calling it work, because it seems like so much fun. So covering hard news, but not knowing that I could do something else, and then kind of realizing entertainment news blew up around that time. I was able to secure an internship at E! Entertainment, which, being a college student in Minnesota, that was all that I wanted in the entire world, was this internship at E! That's what brought me out to Los Angeles in the first place. And I eventually left my job at E! to do the waiting tables and trying to get on camera thing. So that's when I started covering red carpets for my own outlet, and just really kind of, I was told at Afterbuzz TV, which is where you're from as well, and where we first met each other, I got met a lot of great people there, learned so much, and made really important connections with Maria Menounos and her husband, Kevin Undergaro. And one of the things that I learned there that was most valuable was that if you build something, they will come, show people that you can report the news, show people that you can build a following, and then maybe they'll hire you. And so that's kind of what my goal always was with my YouTube channel and that kind of thing, going over into pop culture. And I guess to some degree it worked.
No, I mean, it's working absolutely fine. And there's a little bit of, a bit of a correction. So funny enough, Flobo Boys, because I live in Northeast LA, right? And I was actually going all the way out to Stanton for the Gym Crashers podcast, which would be 90 minutes to 2 hours to get in studio. Yeah, it was a thing. I love my time, but I don't know how it happened. Maybe it was a friend that suggested me to Flobo, and in August 2019, he goes, "Hey, why don't you audition?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." Especially, literally, the Afterbuzz studio, as it was about 15 minutes away versus 2 hours away, right? And usually, with things of me kind of getting involved, Afterbuzz ceases to exist at the previous incarnation. Maybe about 6 months after I was supposed to get my audition. So I'm sorry, I burnt it down. Sorry, AfterBuzz.
Well, you know what? As much as that is kind of a missed opportunity that you didn't get to take advantage of all the resources there and get involved in all the fun things that were going on, I know that for myself as well, it was about the relationships that were created that are going to uplift me for the rest of my entire life, from friends and co-hosts to people who can get you a job, to people who you can call when you need advice or when you're signing a contract. Some of my best friends are people that I've gotten on the air with at least once a week, every day for the last, every week for the last 6-7 years. And working with your friends is pretty freaking cool. That's the greatest thing that I got from AfterBuzz.
No, 100%. Which obviously so were you doing the red carpets first or AfterBuzz?
Yeah, no, I was out there doing my own thing on the red carpets, and I'm kind of working for some other little outlets as well when I learned about AfterBuzz. And back then it hadn't quite evolved into what we knew it as when you came around then yet. It was a little more chill. It was fun, and it was always fun, but such a creative space. So when I heard about it and went there for the first time, the only spot that was open was on the South Park after show, which I actually was a fan of and did watch. So that was cool. But as you know, on South Park, this was right around the time when they started getting really political. Mm-hmm. And the conversation on an after show really was not about a cartoon, but really became about a lot of other things. So it was a great first foray for me into after shows and into really kind of getting into some things beyond pop culture. And it just kind of went from there. I mean, I got to the point where I was doing 6-7 after shows a week. And then I started producing Sean Waltman's podcast when he came around to AfterBuzz, and Lillian Garcia's. And there was just so much opportunity there to have the kind of place where I could imagine it and then you could create it. They had the equipment there, the resources, people to help, people who wanted to do all the other things that weren't my thing, people who wanted to do the graphic arts, people who wanted to produce and, run the control booth, all that kind of thing. Gosh, it's almost making me sad talk about it now that it's over, because it was just such a wonderful collaborative effort. But that's where I really grew out of, where I got my opportunity to get signed with WWE. Mm-hmm. And even after that, where I got my opportunity to be a producer of one of the top shows on Sirius XM Stars, Conversations with Maria Menounos. So I am just eternally grateful.
That's an incredible story. And, it's always hindsight 2020, right? You kind of, because you're, especially here in LA, where you're trying to get the next gig, job, opportunity, what have you, and you kind of don't realize what you have until it's gone, right? And it was so different. We're doing, red carpet interviews, which is, you're lucky if you get 30 seconds and what have you, and it's just you, kind of in the trenches, versus doing long form, hour-long podcasts about, a particular subject, and you have a panel of people and try to figure out the synergy and interplay. It's a difficult jungle, but it's something that you've done well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I enjoy both of those. Like when you say both of those things on a red carpet, trying to grab a celebrity, trying to get their attention, get them to give you those 30 seconds to 2 minutes, making sure you ask the right newsworthy questions, the kind of questions that are going to keep them talking. And also on the other side of that, a sit down where I do a ton of research and again, make sure I'm getting those newsworthy things, but where it's even more important to make the guests comfortable so that they feel that they can reveal things to you, or really speak from the heart. And both of those things just make me so excited. I guess I'm really in the right job.
No, absolutely. And again, your credit to the community. If you guys haven't already subscribed to the Wrestling Chatter channel with your AfterBuzz alumnus, George Hermosa, you do the outro to it. You're on everybody's show. Like you're a true credit to all of us here, and it's so cool because, sometimes in those red carpets, paparazzi, there's other outlets, they kind of not the best of synergy or try to kick you out to get a particular space, or they think they're holier than thou. So it's nice to be able to collaborate with other people to kind of almost do the same thing, but in a different manner.
Yes, well, and at AfterBuzz, that was one of the things they really pushed was the new Hollywood model of helping each other, uplifting each other. If I'm on the carpet and I'm at the front and I do grab somebody, I'm happy to say, "Oh, my friend so-and-so is great too. She's right here. Here's your next one," And in turn, we both give each other enough room when one is filming with a celebrity, so that's kind of a thing in Hollywood, but something that I really appreciate, and is something that I think started at AfterBuzz and with people like you and me and Flobo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you go down the list. It's Flobo. It's James Lott Jr. It's Steve. It's Steve Kaufman, Jack.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. As much as I've been able to lend a hand, or be on other people's podcast or whatever it is, they've all done that for me tenfold. You know what I mean? Our friend Steve Kaufman, who produces After 83 Weeks, long that we do every week alongside with Eric Bischoff, he knows freaking everything about YouTube. I mean, I cannot tell you how valuable it's been to me to every week just be like, oh, I have this issue. What's the deal? And he tells me, he knows exactly every time. Not only that, but someone like George, who has been so, you talked about me doing the outro for his channel. I was so happy to do that because he's been someone who is a great kind of manager over the years. I remember he was one of the first people who told me, like, when we run this after show, think about ESPN, think about the female host who is guiding the experts when she has, four former football players on her panel. How is she recapping the action and then tossing a question and that kind of a thing? And that was something that really spoke to me, so I'm eternally grateful to everybody who's kind of helped me in that way too. Like, that's just what we do now. We just help each other. It makes it easier.
It does, because they say that adage of it's lonely at the top of a particular echelon and what have you, but you want to make sure as many friends as you have there, so it's not as lonely.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I mean, I really like my friends, and I think, again, that they do great work, and everybody has such an individual, unique thing that they're good at, or that they're the best at. A lot of people come to me for like getting press coverage, writing a press release. I made a template a million years ago that AfterBuzz put out and showed to everybody, and that became the thing that we use to get press. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very happy, to have done that. I think we can all fly,
I like it. I 100%. Now, obviously, AfterBuzz, you used it, whether you knew it or not, as almost a launching pad, to your time in WWE NXT, which, what's it, Johnny LaCosta? There's a few of you guys and gals that ended up, basically using it as your launching pad. Do you feel that your time in AfterBuzz kind of helped you kind of, doing the WWE kind of system?
My time at AfterBuzz is absolutely the reason why I ever got signed at WWE. And I will tell you the entire story. So when Lillian Garcia signed with AfterBuzz and started her podcast, which is now A Road to Glory, but then was making their way to the ring, she also was very generous and wanting to lift other people up, and was happy to have me come on and do a little wrestling news segment on her show, so really deliver the stories, give the details, and then she could react and talk about what she knew. And it's a format that's become popular now that I do on a lot of shows. But she was one of the first to give me that opportunity. And so when she was doing interviews for her podcast, when SmackDown came to town, I ended up in a room with her and people who were in charge of talent at that time. And her and I were going over an interview she was doing. I was coming up with questions. I was doing research on the fly. I was writing her intros, and someone took notice of that. And that's really where I got my audition opportunity out of. But way beyond that, and even just as important, was the fact that I was working with Sean Waltman at the same time as well. And I don't know if you know, he's got some clout around there, especially with a certain NXT folk named Triple H. Yeah. So he was the one he was at that SmackDown Live when I was there that first night too, and kind of telling me like, okay, we're over here. Now they're coming out, and just stand there and smile. And like, we're going to do this. He was incredible to me. And I think he was really the one that made sure that the eyes went to me and that I was ready for the eyes to be on me. So just so incredibly grateful to Sean and Lillian and Maria and Kevin, who made those connections happen in the first place and got me on their shows. So that was how it went, and I went in for my audition less than a week later, and it's all, the rest is history. And in a few weeks I was moving to Orlando, and it all happened very quick. I mean, I was literally standing like right over here when Michael called me, like 2 feet from where I'm pointing right now, when Michael Cole called me. So it's cool. And it's fun to retell the story because there is so much positivity. And I did get a lot of help from others, but I had also put in a lot of my own work and I was ready, you know?
I like it. And what is it? Proper preparation prevents poor performance, right? Yeah.
Yes. If you're always ready, you don't have to get ready, which when I was younger, I definitely was always doing the struggling to get ready thing. And now I'm just more comfortable with being ready.
I like it. I smudged up my makeup, so I'm not ready right now. So there's that. And Stephen Tatum said Michelle Williams did star in Freddy versus Jason. And yeah, there we go. There we go.
Maybe I need to watch that tonight. I was gonna finish out. I'm almost on the second season of Eve, which I'm watching back. But I think maybe Michelle Williams and Freddy versus Jason. I could throw that in.
Eve. I like it. Justin Vick, it says Christy is such a pro from the research to the delivery of information. There you go.
That means a lot to me. That was exactly the reputation that I wanted to build, especially back then, and I cannot tell you, I mean, I'm proud to say, this sounds like tooting my own horn, but I am proud to say there have been a lot of high profile people who have said to me, you've really done your research. You know what you're talking about. You asked great questions. That was a great intro. And that's what keeps me going,
No, 100%. Now I got to ask, right? Because there is some memes about WWE name generators, right? So you went from Christy Olson to Christy St. Cloud. Not to get too deep into the weeds, but how did that happen?
Yeah, you know what? That is so fun. So I was never given the option to keep my name. And I now realize that's something I should have definitely asked for. And I think that in the time after me, people were given that. But I also was a little bit excited to take on kind of an alter ego. And to be really honest with you, I was coming from a place where I considered myself a real journalist, right? I'm a real journalist and I don't shoot interviews. Yeah. And so if I was going to go on screen and do these scripted interviews that were part of the storyline, I'm like, yeah, I can take on another persona. And they asked me for some suggestions, what are names you'd like to go by? I was sold on Christina instead of Christy because I thought it just sounded more, all business.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was going to be, at first, this is the name that was approved and given to me by my suggestion, Christina Ruby, which is my great-grandmother's maiden name. And just in the weeks that I was hired, literally when I went there to visit, Ruby Riot had just debuted. So Christina Ruby was not going to happen anymore now that we had a Ruby Riot. So they went with my second suggestion, Christy St. Cloud, which is the city that I went to college in, St. Cloud State University. And I thought it sounded cute and it's a nod to, where I'm from and all that. So I thought it was cool until it kind of happened. And I had people saying to me oh, let me guess. That's where you went to college. Let me guess. That's where you're from. Oh, that sounds like an 80s porn star. So everybody's got their opinions, but you know what? I like Christy St. Cloud. And, I like the name. The person who that was got a little lame.
It happens. I mean,
the on-camera persona, not so much after a while, but the actual name, I like it.
Again, hindsight is 20/20, right? So you don't know what you don't know until you know. So there's that, right?
There is that, but also you do know. You hear what it's like for everybody there. You know what kind of restrictions you're under. You read the contract. You know what you're in for. Me, I had such rose-colored glasses on. I had wanted to be there so bad. I thought once I got hired that would be where I would retire from when I was 50, like Lillian. And I just really thought it was going to be different for me. My expectations were so high, and I think that ended up really being kind of a detriment,
Yeah, I've heard such things that if they know you love it, it's almost like a scarlet letter, right? And that's it. But the people who don't love it as much, I don't want to say who, but somebody who might have called you, right? He was a certain Coulthard, right? He didn't grow up a fan of pro wrestling. And Byron Saxton he grew up on WWF wrestling, not so much anything else, right? So it's a weird one, which it's good that you have the experience, right? Where it's you, Alyssa Marino, Johnny LaQuasto. You guys have had those experiences, but it's almost like a rebirth, which I hope the talent that were released yesterday kind of get it, because everybody's doom and gloom. Yeah, I'm not there. There's no guaranteed contract and what have you. But look how many wrestlers and talent have been able to flourish outside of that system using a lot of the traits that they learned there and use it for elsewhere.
Yeah. And I really think, like, for the folks that have been released recently, that the world is their oyster. Like, they have a lot of attention now, and that they are going to do great things. But I kind of forgot what I was going to say, so just never mind.
That's all right. It's cool. I do that all the time, especially post-COVID. But that's funny that you mentioned, like, St. Cloud University in Minnesota, and you mentioned watching as a youngin' pro wrestling. So please indulge me. Was it any AWA, or was that before your time?
No, that was before my time. My period was like, so Monday nights, my mom would work late. That was the only night of the week. So dad was in charge. We would eat those frozen banquet chicken tenders, which are probably so terrible and awful, and probably didn't actually have chicken in them. And like that rice that, like, you just add the water to, that dad could put in the microwave. So we would have that for dinner, which we called supper, because I'm from the Midwest.
Yeah.
And we would sit down. This is when people were flipping back and forth between WCW and WWF. And I remember dad flipping back and forth. And I remember mom coming home being like, acting all like she thought it was silly, right? Like, are you guys watching that wrestling? And it was just kind of a fun thing for us to share. And it was a short period of time. Like, I remember Miss Elizabeth, I was so obsessed with all of her gowns. And that I was so scared of Jake the Snake Roberts Snake, and that kind of thing. But it really was a short period of time. And I got out of it, honestly, for a long time. I was like a feminist crusader as like a 12-year-old. And that was prime bra and panty match time. So it just didn't speak to me for a lot of years. And then the way that I jumped back in was when I started doing red carpet interviews here in LA, was right exactly at the time that Total Divas started. And that those women really started getting a mainstream press rub. So when I started interviewing, like, I remember, like, Maurice had just been released and had just come out with like a jewelry line. I went to the red carpet for her jewelry line release and got to know some of them, and were like, these people are cool. I was like, wait, women are doing this now? They're wrestling? She was the champion? That's pretty cool. And that's really when I checked back in. Total Divas helped with that, because I'm a huge reality TV fan. And I got re-obsessed. Totally obsessed, to the point where I was watching every show every week, knew everything about everyone that was going down. I was covering every single show on Afterbuzz. And that was just really the most fun time of covering wrestling for me.
Oh, yeah. No, it's that's really cool. I like that, because usually it's what did they say? What, born again, right? You became a born again wrestling fan. And sometimes it's to use the title song of Step by Step. It's always better the second time around, right?
Day by day.
Oh, yeah.
My husband and I just watched that entire series back not that long ago.
Really?
I suggest anybody, and I just mentioned I've been watching Eve back, Blossom as well. I'm almost all the way through. Anybody, if you need a little reprieve from life, 90s sitcoms.
Oh, no, 100%. It's funny. So both Tina Turner and Patrick Duffy were big in my household, because I grew up a Nichiren Buddhist, and they were both, they were the most notable Nichiren Buddhists. If you listen to Tina Turner's What's Love Got to Do With It, there's a second verse that goes, if I chant in the days I read it someplace. And it's in reference, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I never put that all together. I did not know that about her. Love her and that song and her story, and wow. You're teaching me something.
I have useless information in between my ears, and it's just, sometimes it works, and sometimes it's just like, oh, why did you say that? My wife is just like, what the hell?
Well, so does Tina still follow the faith?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, if you watch so they just did the HBO documentary where she details it as well. Like, anything that she does, and if she's asked,
please tell me that's on Max.
Yes, it is on Max. It premiered on Max. 100%.
Tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I'm watching tonight.
Oh, she's just brilliant. My mom, Fijian woman, right? My mom just absolutely loved Tina Turner. And as she was trying to talk about adopting personas when she came in '82, it wasn't vogue to be different. And especially even coming to a liberal ass San Francisco. It was just like she worked for a pretty prominent family, and they're like, black person, free, like British accent, like no,
Wow.
no, no. So she got accosted. That's one of the reasons why she didn't teach myself nor my sister the language, because she wanted us. My dad is American black. She married an American black person, so she wanted us to speak English like
Yeah.
us here in American rather than the British Commonwealth. So it's crazy, but she literally almost like gravitated towards Tina Turner, and it's just it's something that persisted up until she passed away.
I love to. I'm sorry for your loss. She sounds like an amazing woman. And man, I just love to hear that you were taught to appreciate, Tina and religion and love.
Oh,
And
oh yeah. It's just, and that's the thing. Everybody, whatever you come to, and however you come to it, cool. If you're whatever faith, whatever sexual orientation. I mean, I was born in San Francisco, and literally the first parade that I went to was, didn't know it at the time, but was a pride parade. But people with rainbows, I'm like, I like Rainbow Bright. Like,
yes,
this is so cool,
Rainbow
man.
Bright. Yes, she was
Yes.
my girl in the 80s.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. But speaking of like, you mean
No, wait.
girl-
I have
Okay.
questions now that I know
Yeah.
you have this insanely incredible life story. Have you been to Fiji? Does
Yeah.
your mom still have family there? Is that
No,
is that a
absolutely.
world that you're like have a toe in?
Yeah, no, 100%. But it's so for me, born in San Francisco, we did live in Fiji 87 and 92 for maybe a couple months, but that is just as long as we lived in other places. So we get
Yeah.
back to the Bay Area, Marin County, on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. Then we went to Indiana, where my dad's from, South Bend,
Okay.
Las Vegas, New Mexico, Georgia, and then LA, Inglewood specifically in 96, right? Where it was all like, I remember going, like now it's like the backside of where the Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles Inglewood location is, right? But that
Okay.
was a blood territory. And I remember stepping out as a 9-year-old kid with a Sonic the Hedgehog t-shirt, and my cousins, who I didn't think gave a shit about me, they grabbed me by the scruff of my shirt and was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Color.
You're
Yeah.
gonna die.
Wow. Wow, Adam. I mean, I just think I compare that to my childhood of growing up where everyone was the same. I grew up in the same place where everyone had also grown up there. And there are really beautiful things about that as well.
Right.
But just the diversity, just the different things that you were exposed to, that you knew about as a child, that you were able to kind of think about and form an opinion about, or, it just is, that's fascinating to me. That was one of the things moving to LA. I was always like, I can't imagine growing up here, being a kid in that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, it wasn't sunshine and rainbows for sure, but I mean, it's something that, again, in retrospect, you absolutely love, and it is the truth to be self-evident. But yeah, it's just, it's a thing, but it almost ensures that I'll never fit in anywhere, and that's also why I gravitated to wrestling so hard in the paint, because of all of the places that I couldn't necessarily have a say in where we go. I mean, not until the beginning of the summer did we. My wife and I have been married 15 years, 4 kids, 1 grandchild. And the first time,
Grandpa.
yeah, Grandpa, 100%.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no,
or I would have been calling you that this entire time.
yeah, me and James Lott Jr., I think we're the two. We're the two, for sure.
And that's so funny because you two are so non-grandpas, right? Like all the curmudgeon-y things that we
Yes.
think about grandpas, like you guys are so you are the ones who we would all want to have as our grandpa.
I appreciate it. Well, apparently I'm taking applications for adopted grandchildren. So yeah,
Love
send them. No, but that's the thing, and that's why my frustration with wrestling at times when it's not great, it's just because I've loved this thing for so long, and when it's not great, it hurts. It fucking hurts, man.
It hurts. I have to ask, what you mean by not great? Do you mean just creatively not enjoying it, or do you mean when it gets bad for the performers and when there are things like prejudice and things going on? Do you tune into all of that, or are you just talking about shitty creative?
Both, absolutely both. I mean, unfortunately, and everyone gives me absolute shit about it, but I'm not a fan of Roman Reigns, and I'm not saying the guy Joe Anawagi, right? Yeah, but the first time, right? I grew up in an era of like my son's name is Owen. I grew up on the Hearts, right? So I remember the first time this guy in a SWAT uniform, right, and a vest. He sells a punch to the stomach with the vest, and I was just like, ah! Like I did the Vince gif of the pulling my ear. I was just like, yeah, I was like, oh, what the hell, you know? And he found out Hornswoggle was his son. Me, I just found out you bulletproof vests. Oh, there's a whole thing. So again, selling punches with the bulletproof vests, right?
Yes.
He is half Polynesian, much like me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm glad that he's not either a savage or a gangster, because that's what happened, you know? Like, what was it? Yeah, so
even today with the Usos,
right,
I mean,
100%.
we're still riding that line.
Yeah, 100%. So ideologically, right? So you got a guy who's a SWAT guy who sells punches with his vests, right? But in the same universe where D'Lo Brown existed, and if he did a frog splash on you, you were dead.
You're done.
Dead, right? And then the worst music, I think all of the Shield guys during the WWE run had pretty shit music. Burn it
They
down.
would agree.
Whatever. Right?
No, it was burn it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, you know, Ambrose, you know, the now known as Moxley.
He just came out and talked about this, all the silly gear and the songs and the whole thing. Yeah.
No, 100%. So, and then Roman, you know, he has the Shield theme song, and he was made to be, in the fans' eyes, the weakest link of the Shield, right? A guy nobody had heard of prior to his WWE run, right?
He's here because the women are going to like him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And then finding out that he's going to be the guy, the heir apparent to Cena. But then, again, ideologically, here's a guy who's a SWAT guy who has a move called the drive-by, but is also cousins with two twin brothers named the Usos, which Usos, even though they're twin brothers, is Samoan for cousin. Oh my God! See, this is what happened.
See, and I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So for me, it's a miss. And then now, like, he's been pushed to the top for almost over a half a decade, almost a decade now, right? Yeah. And what other?
Like, it took that long.
Yeah, absolutely.
At your point, it took that long.
Right, and the fact that what other form of entertainment does a lead character take 6 years to build? They would have been canceled. If this was Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, they would have been fucking canceled.
God.
I'm just saying.
I never thought about that. You are so right. Oh my God, that's so right. You know what I think the difference here is that Vince McMahon versus Andy Cohen, a lot less pride, you know, a lot less like, listen, I'm going to make this work, man. I am gonna make this work. And I think the recent release of Karrion Kross just proves all this. Mm-hmm. You know, Vince was like, I'm not doing it again. I'm not putting in 10 more years on figuring out what the creative I control for this person is what people want. I mean,
and even now, Roman's current incarnation, and it is good. It is fucking phenomenal. The tribal chief and the bloodline. Awesome. Heyman, right? Absolutely. But people are like, oh, you should love him because he's a Heyman guy. Oh, tell that to Bo Dallas. What was it? Curtis Axel and Cesaro, right? Weren't they Heyman guys? And then behind the scenes, Punk. Like, no, that's right. Yeah. And then now he's a tribal chief. But what tribe do you know of any Polynesian or Melanesian island that wears SWAT boots and SWAT pants? My God.
He's not giving that up.
So
I never thought about how he still has those remnants. Yeah.
So I'm not giving up my disdain. So there you go. And I'm not saying anything against Joe Anawai, the guy, or the Fatu brothers. I'm just saying the character is a bit amiss for me.
You have stated your case very effectively. I understand why you would feel this way. And you know what? I think, don't we all still, us hardcore fans or people who've been watching this long, don't we all still have a little thing where we still want to boo them, we still want to hate them, we still want it not to work because we know it's been shoved down our throats and that's why it's finally working, and there's a little bit of a cynically that just still wants to be like, screw the real guy. Us going against Roman Reigns is us fighting against Vince McMahon and the hierarchy and the man and the whole thing. I still feel a little bit of that.
Yeah. Again, Roman Reigns exists in the same timeline as like a Yuji Nagata or Naito. Right. So there's that, you know. Justin Fick says, Banquet TV dinners, you're speaking my language. Christy, you're
on the TV tray. You know the one you pull them out of that stand that held like 4 of them and pull them out. I think my parents still have them.
10 points. Right on. Those are worth a pretty penny nowadays, especially on the eBay market. Right on. You know, yes, and you're unlucky memories of my youth. Youngest looking grandpa I've ever seen. There's some gray hairs. Right? I appreciate that.
I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it.
Appreciate it. That rose-colored glasses works both ways. Thank you, Christy Olson. There you go. You actually 10 points. 10 points. You win the weekend. You know this, right? Like you just had rose-colored. This is great.
How have I never pulled these out before? They're just right here.
That's amazing.
They're sitting on top of the Clueless books, which was another short-lived book series from the 90s.
Oh my gosh. Oh, the Clueless. And what, yeah, I mean, the movie form, like, look at where the cast ended up. I think my sister had that same book.
I was going to say, you can see it's been gone through a couple of million, 100 times. You can't get this anymore. This is Cher's Guide to Whatever.
Yes. I remember this.
Your sister had this?
Yes, absolutely. And she got it on a Scholastic book fair, which if you read the stuff in there, you're like, wait, this isn't a book fair? Like for kids? Like elementary school? Okay.
Oh my gosh, you know what? It's been a long time since I've actually opened it. I feel like I'm going to do that now. So I'm putting that on the list. You gave me something to watch. Now I got something to read. My whole weekend is set. Thanks.
See, there you go. There you go. I appreciate it. Justin Vick says, hi, you need to be in your room of WWE Creative.
You know what? I have considered applying for one of those writer positions just to make somebody go, right? Just to make somebody be like, oh, hey, this girl's worked in television. Because, you know, somebody who doesn't know anything would like, oh, this girl's worked in television. She knows wrestling. She's worked with people who work here and the whole thing. And she knows all this stuff. And then you hand it over to, I don't know, Cole or somebody who's like, yeah, no.
Oh, Marie Shadows over on Twitter, and I feel like I have to connect you to. But she worked at WWE Network for the wildest 90 days that I've ever heard of any. She worked for the network, and do you think like them hiring talent, right? In terms of like not liking or knowing the product, right? Well, right. The reason why the WWE Network was pretty shit is because they were hiring people that were programmers but not wrestling fans, right? So they didn't know who the fuck they were inputting to the search engine.
Yeah, because again, they think that they can take those people, mold them, make them think about wrestling, what Vince thinks about wrestling, and then Vince will get out of them what he wants. Like, they want that, I can say when I was there, the hosts who knew nothing about wrestling had honestly not that much respect for it, and thought this was a silly job that was their stepping stone to ESPN, were the ones who got all the big TV gigs, who were doing the backstage interviews on Raw and SmackDown, and who are, people who knew nothing about wrestling coming in, but who have built an appreciation for it, are now like hosting the pre-shows and stuff. So that's definitely, there's something to that. Again, I don't understand it. And I think I was kind of noticed for the opposite reason, but that just goes to show how much the requirements change there, right? What are we looking for this week? Kind of a thing.
100%. Justin Vick says it's a crappy song. We hate it until we've heard it for the 100th time. No, we're not Stockholm syndroming fucking Roman Reigns' theme song. No, this is not what we're doing, sir. I appreciate it. I love the fact that your insight was there, but no. And then now they changed the theme song, but then gave him the CGI, whatever, altered reality, but it just looks like cum face.
I mean, that's all I'm going to see now when I look at it.
I'm surprised nobody's seen it before. I don't know. That wasn't PG at all.
I mean, I think they're probably trying to play into the thing that a lot of, I guess he is a big deal with a lot of women, not my cup of tea, but I guess, in the world of pro wrestling, that's kind of a thing.
It is a thing. But I mean, in the world of sports entertainment, for sure, it's a thing. But I guess even Jim Cornette will go, where wrestling is in terms of the pop culture lexicon when you see the females that go to the matches, right? It's a down period, and it's just like maybe not the most cosmetically appeasing. And then, when it's up, it's just, what was it? The DX at the Triple H asking for, yeah, there we go. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista.
That was even before DX. The DX were like, he would end the show.
Yeah, no, I know. But what was their little? What was their
evolution?
What was their whole thing? Yes.
Even
all that, like, that was a different period of time. Like, that was like, give us the hotties on both the male side and the female side.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if you mentioned, to your 83 after 83 weeks compatriot about HLA or 3-minute warning.
We have. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because it was pretty early on in our after 83 weeks venture that Eric and Conrad broke all that down. I don't know if they have a whole episode about it or if it was about that show specifically, but we talked a lot about that. And to be honest with you, again, that was that period of time where I was kind of a baby feminist checking out. Like, I would not have been cool with that. I can look at it now in a different way of kind of existing in its time. But man, that's something that's worth taking a look at, that's worth breaking down and kind of seeing where we were at in that period of time. How did we get there? I guess is my question. Like, creatively, how did we get there? And how do we make sure we never have to go back there?
Oh, there's Mae Young giving birth a hand. There's Katie Vick. There's so many things. Godfather, right? Like, it doesn't age well. But the thing about it is, with the HLA storyline, one of them was actually a worker here from UPW, the old Rick Bassman, school that launched the careers of Samoa Joe, Chris Daniels.
Did she have a career afterward? Please tell me she did. No.
Yeah, that was her one shot. And this is pre-developmental. This is before Deep South, FCW, Heartland. Yeah.
I hope that, and now I'm going to do some research.
Yeah.
Now I kind of want to talk to this woman. Okay. And I'm sure a lot of people have or have tried to, but I can only think, I hope that she can look back at that and go, wow, as far as getting heat, getting over, all the wrestling things, memorable stuff, I hope that there's at least some aspect of that they can feel proud of, as far as having made a footprint on the wrestling business. Even if it is, we can look at that and say, that's not what we want women's action to be ever again. And now we know enough to watch that and go, I bet those women could have done so much more.
Actually,
we know that now.
No, 100%. Well, actually, the junior feminist in you will kind of appreciate it, because I believe she does one more cameo. Jenny Looney Lane does one more cameo in the WWE, but it was as Hillary Clinton battling Barack Obama. Yes.
Really? So that
I believe.
Been
we gotta go
years later.
Yes. Yeah. Let's see George Hermosa. That
you know your stuff. So
I'm no George Hermosa, but I mean, yeah.
Who is?
Oh, who is?
To be fair, who is?
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, that's worth following up on.
Yeah. What's your favorite era of professional wrestling?
Good question. I usually get asked who my general favorite is. So favorite era. You know what? I'm going to say 2012 to 2015. What were we calling it then? It was like post PG era, where they pretended like they were kind of pushing. Yes. Where they pretended like they were pushing the envelope, but it wasn't offensive anymore. And again, when the women were really coming up, right before the women's evolution, that the Dallas match, Blonde versus Team Bad, that was right on the cusp of people realizing that these women can be more than blonde or bad.
Yeah.
Not just in the ring, but also as mainstream people who bring a lot of attention to the world of pro wrestling. And that's something that I always say, and maybe something that we can kind of, I'm sure you want to stop listening to me talk at some point here.
No.
But I always give like Nikki and Brie Bella a lot of credit, and and all the other women who are on Total Divas. You can say what you want and think what you want. And of course, the great work that a lot of women were putting in the ring brought on the women's revolution, but without the attention that the Bellas were getting and the other stars of Total Divas were mainstream attention that they were getting from putting their personal lives out there and really showing people what they were going through behind the scenes as superstars. Without that, I'm not convinced that the women's revolution would have happened. So that's why that personally to me is the period of time that means the most, that was the most interesting to me, and that had the biggest effect on me. That's what brought me back in. That's what changed my life. I worked indies for a year or two before I went to WWE, which was a great time in my life. All that was right during Total Bellas and hosting all those after shows. Like that was just when it was the most absolute fun for me. And I think for other people too. So that's my fave.
I like it. No, that's incredible. And yeah, like you said, the Bellas don't get enough credit, but I mean, not since I think they were the first, a post-Attitude Era divas that would, get, I don't even know if TV Guide was still a thing, but definitely magazine covers and what have you, without, like a generation before, it was Playboy, which is, again, if you want to go down the misogynistic wormhole, you'll have a field day, right? So they did that without
that
doing
was the ultimate goal of the women then. Yeah, that was how you made it. Now they've got their own beauty line, their own clothing line, Dancing with the Stars, and the show they've admitted now is over, but and they are tied to WWE in a lot of their business ventures. And obviously, Brie will never be able to appear on AEW with Daniel Bryan, but they have made out like bandits.
Yes.
And they have absolutely, delivered on every opportunity that they've been given. And I will always, 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 always forever stand the Bellas. If not for no other reason than because they were the ones who really got me interested and back in, and just have so much love for all those women.
No, absolutely. Now, you can obviously wonder why, Joyce Grable is in the WWE Hall of Fame and the Bellas are or what have you. But, again.
Legit. I get it.
But also, look at where. It's a popularity contest, It's just, I'm surprised Abdullah the Butcher's there, to be honest with you.
It's a who brought in the most money contest, and that goes, especially in this day and age, far outside the ring. Now it means being an influencer. Now it means being a reality star. Now it means, do you have a makeup line or a beauty line or a clothing line? You got to have one of the three. You know what I mean? And they're the ones that who have really done it. Eva Marie deserves special mention as well for all of her success in TV and film and being signed to the Rock's management company. She's going to be fine. Kind of what they did to her, and we need you, we want to bring you back, but then we regret being able to let you go off and shoot your movies, and now so we decided you cost too much, so bye. Things like that are going to happen, but there have been some strong women there. Every woman that has come out of there has been strong, and just that's what gets me excited and keeps me into it.
No, absolutely. I mean, but this is also the same company that signs the one-legged wrestler or wrong John Hennigan wife. Yeah,
who just signed Brandy and let her move to Orlando and all that, and then crapped on her and released her. Yes, same company. Good point.
Yeah, same company. And a lot of wrestlers are entrepreneurial. Absolutely, kind of have to be in this day and age. It's funny because for me, pro wrestling is a combat sport, right? So with that all being said, there's never been more money in combat sports. You call it UFC, Bellator. UFC, WME is the parent company. Bellator owned by Viacom. You got AEW, obviously owned by the Khans. You've got WWE, and then all of these. GCW sells out they're almost like Ringling Brothers, where they're playing different cities every weekend, sell out crowds with merch.
And again, getting that attention, getting that mainstream press coverage, making people talk about them, trending on Twitter, all those things are massively important, and they're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the thing. There's never been more money in combat sports, but you have to do a little bit more. And that's one of the things that I love about pro wrestlers and people that are within the pro wrestling industry. Sometimes versus fighters.
They do the most. They do the most.
100%. Because some fighters are like, oh, I just have Twitter. I just have Instagram. I just have this and whatever. And I'm all like, you're negating anybody else on any other social platform from following you. But then also you're going to go to the powers that be and go, oh, why am I not getting paid much? That's the thing, right? Why don't you have merch? Why is it the fucking neon green that is the cheapest thing that you can get per dozen with just a bunch of logos behind it? Nobody's gonna rock that shit. They'll buy it one $15 time, $20 time, and then throw it in the back, or it ends up in the Goodwill bin. Like, think about it, right? But that's one thing. You don't have to tell wrestlers to have every social media, a little presence or what have you, or pro
start
wrestling.
your YouTube channel when you can. Like, get on Cameo if they'll let you. Get on Twitch if they'll let you. Fly under the radar so that you can keep it. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Which I gotta, we mentioned the Bellas, right? And they might be, into some WWE, maybe a Legends deal or what have you, right?
They done wrestling. Total Bellas is done. Total Divas is done, and we're sad about it.
Right, absolutely. But they're still attached to the WWE in some way. Which philosophically, after we got off the air last night, I was thinking about, right. So a lot of the elder statesmen and women of the WWE, history, right. They're signed to Legends deal for the most part, right. With the second, third waves of releases, how can you be a legend and get signed to a deal if they don't let you be?
Are you asking me if I'm on a Legends deal?
No, I mean, you could say if you are or aren't, but let's just say, if we wanted a Christy St. Cloud on the WWE alumnus page and whatever, that kind of held you there, and maybe buy some Christy St. Cloud merch on WWE Network, but they released you. How can you be a legend?
This is where 100% clout comes in, right? We just heard the news today that some superstars, 18 releases, some of them were because they were unvaccinated, but bigger stars could maybe get away with that. Everybody is on a case-by-case basis, and you better hope that you've got a great lawyer. Maybe you get Barry involved. Barry's still around, honey. Call Barry. But I like to think that when someone works themselves to a position that the Bellas have, they actually have clout. That is so, so rare in WWE. I was never to that point. Obviously, a lot of people never get there. Some big name superstars that you guess, your Nia Jaxes and those, obviously still can't do what they want when they're there. So if you get to that point where you can make those business deals and get a little something for yourself, that you've really proven yourself to Vince and the rest of the team if they let you have that. And they certainly have let the Bellas have a teeny bit of freedom and really be themselves in their projects. That, let's remember, WWE as a percentage of Birdie B, they're raking in. They were the ones getting those royalties off of Total Bellas and all of that. So it still isn't an ideal situation. But listen, could you do more on your own? Probably not.
Yeah. Everybody needs that springboard. And Justin Vic says Legends deals must be WWE's version of a retirement plan. Let's ask Mick Foley about that, because if you say the wrong thing, I'm just saying. But Christy, before we go,
I got all the time in the world, honey.
Oh, yes. For real? Okay, so let's get into reality TV a bit, right?
Yes.
So what are you watching right now?
I think a better question might be, what am I not watching now? I'm like one of those. So right now, what comes on every week, I've got Housewives of Beverly Hills, Potomac, and Salt Lake City. And then Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders making the team is on season 16 or something. I have been watching it since episode 1, season 1. I live for the time of year that show comes back around. They recap the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders tryout, training camp, and all that throughout the last couple months. And it's such a positive, fun show. I was on dance team back in high school, and so that's just something that I love to watch. And then it's all the trashy stuff. Marriage Boot Camp, $1 Million Listing, and it's Love and Hip Hop Miami. Anything that you consider trash reality TV, I'm in on. All the 90 Day Fiance stuff and all the spinoffs. I just love it. I understand how people don't want to get into it, how it's not their escapism to
Right.
see other people like kind of getting into it and being real humans. But for me, that is how I escape, and also how I report and a lot of things that I do my job in relation to. So yeah, which shows am I not watching may have been a shorter answer.
Okay. No, this is a podcast. Long answers are fine. 100%. Which, I mean, that Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, right? And the plight of cheerleaders in general, right? How they're super stringent of what they can and can't do. They don't earn a living, but they also have maybe more physical, expectations of them than the players themselves, right?
Yes.
Yes. So,
weigh-ins included.
Yes.
No, and now that you're saying all this, I'm like, it's not that different from pro wrestling, or if those female athletes who are the dancers were really football players. They don't show weigh-ins anymore. It's been 16 years. They used to. But fitting the uniform and all that kinds of thing, being able to do a jump split.
Ouch. It sounds
Adam, they're literally jumping, doing the splits in the air and landing on the grass. So, I mean, this is not anything to be taken lightly. And that's part of the reason why I love to watch it too, is it's like I'm watching these superhuman beings just do something that I could never even imagine trying. And that's kind of what I get out of watching wrestling as well. And on top of that, with DCC, it just has so much heart. It's like a sisterhood, and even the coaches were like DCC back in the day. And unfortunately, someone usually gets cut, and that's very sad. But a lot of times they tell them, like, we like you, like, come back. Here's what you have to do to come back again next year. And it just it's a positive thing. And it kind of balances out all the other negative shows that I watch.
Yeah, no, 100%. Justin Vince says, I love it. I cheat. I wait for the reunion shows just to watch the fights. 10 points.
I can't do that. I have to know every little thing that went down.
They're going to clip it up.
So it's I can judge and ridicule.
It's like a WWE pay-per-view. You don't have to watch the fucking lead-up shows or whatever. That 30-minute, and whoever is behind all the promo packages with the WWE, you deserve an Oscar. You deserve a fucking Emmy, a damn Nobel Peace Prize. Because I don't know what the fuck is going on otherwise, right? I'm just saying, right?
That's so true.
Now, did you ever get into the OG reality shows like The Real World and Road Rules and the challenge shows?
I am so waiting. So they're starting to bring back those casts now. I was kind of the second wave of that. So I'm waiting for like Hawaii.
Oh, yes.
To get reunited, New Orleans, Vegas, Trishelle. Remember Bryn with the fork and Steven? She was the first. Bryn was one of the first people ever to get kicked off a reality show for doing something physical. Because up until then, they acted like it wasn't okay and then made it okay. And then she did that, and that was the end of it. And that was what really made a change. And so I'm waiting for them to get there, and then I'm going to check back in, because I wasn't on that first few seasons. I was too young for that. So, but I do love that we're revisiting those. Oh,
like that's the fucking, I mean, I'm sorry. Like,
COVID almost killed me. Amaya and Colin on Hawaii, and Ruthie, and she was an alcoholic.
Ruthie and Tech Money.
Tech Money. He had one. Remember, he was going to be a big actor afterwards. He had that one guest appearance on Friends, and we never saw him ever again. And even if you look him up now, I feel like it's been a while. But I've tried to look him up, and he ain't nowhere.
No, check it out. He's doing all of the fucking challenge shows that Miz used to do. 100%.
Is he embarrassed about it?
No. They're like 20. There's like 20 seasons, and that again, COVID almost killed me. But when I was kind of coming to Paramount Network, because unfortunately the Peacock Network, I'm deaf as shit, right? So they don't have the subtitles, so I can't fall asleep watching it.
They don't have subtitles. Their whole format is so off. But
so
that's like tip of the iceberg.
So fucked. But I tuned in to fucking. I was like, holy shit! Legends of the Hidden Temple, Guts, and then all the fucking MTV reality shows when they were good, right? No, Tech Money and Ruthie have been doing these fucking challenge shows for the last 20 years. And if you didn't
I didn't know.
Colin is there. Like, there's so many fucking people on it, and they rehashed.
That was that rules thing where they went on the sea. Remember Veronica and somebody stole somebody's shirt? Like, are those chicks in there?
Those are still happening to this day. And again, they preface it when people are getting into it and they bring up, oh, on season 14, you said this shit or you beat me at this fucking challenge. And I'm all like, yes. That has become my wrestling right now.
You've got me on board 100%. But that makes me, when you just said that's your wrestling, I was like, oh, that was the thing that was beating out AEW in their ratings for a lot of weeks in the summertime, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it the challenge on MTV?
Yes. Oh, it's
so you're not the only one who this has become their pro wrestling.
Yes, I mean that's the thing. So when I was a kid here in LA, I'd run home, right? Because to get Jerry Springer and then the Spanish language version. Jose Luis Censura, like Jose Luis Uncensored. Holy fucking shit. They were throwing chairs at each other. It might as well have been a fucking 1996 La Parka match. That shit was, people were jumping off of the fucking scout. Wild, man. And here's the thing, like James Lott Jr. does all of the soap shows and everything. Telenovelas are better and trash fucking yeah, right. Like literally, you're in a fight, you get slapped, and then there's a Hurricane Rana that happens as they're in the fucking living room. Come on, that's the best shit ever.
That's such a good point, and it reminds me of a scripted like a scripted series that Eva Longoria did about telenovelas.
Oh yes,
do you remember that? Like years ago. Remember when she had her production company and stuff? She was trying to get.
It's on Paramount Plus. It's on.
Is it? It only went one season from my.
It's there
from my memory, but it was good.
It's there. It's totally there.
Start making a list of all these things, and nobody's going to hear from me from the rest of the weekend.
No worries.
Now I've got Freddie and Jason on the list. This.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and shitty theme songs. It's awesome. No, 100%. But that's literally all of the people that you're referencing. They're still here and still doing fucking challenges. I mean, what was my fucking what I did? I think they did the Real World New York the first season, right? Because Miz was, I think, on the 10-year reunion. But the first season of Real World, and that was the New York season, they did the 20-year anniversary show, right? And
with a different cast right after.
No, it was the same cast. It was the same cast, just older.
Oh, you mean the reunion thingy?
Yeah, the reunion thing, right?
Yeah.
But then, like, again, COVID, delirium, and shit like that, it would just autoplay to the next whatever. And then I'd wake up to, like, Ruthie and Trishelle fucking fighting over a barge and shit. I was like, what the fuck? I haven't seen these people.
But that must have been on the challenge though, because that was my thing with this. I was on board for when they started revamping those and the Real World, even though I didn't watch it and I was going to download Paramount Plus and watch them. But then they didn't have it was seasons like 1 through 6.
Yeah. And
then like something through 21. And they didn't have those middle ones I wanted, Hawaii and New Orleans and all those. And I was like, I'm not paying for not being able to watch on Maya and Colin go back and forth on the relationship for the next week. Sorry.
Good sister, they are there. And it's a fucking wormhole. It's a wonderful fucking wormhole. 100%.
I'm so far in.
See?
My weekend is lost. Done. See? Over. It's
there you
already
go.
Over.
100%. And so we said that. And then I literally have a sensory overload with all the good pop culture references. That's it. Oh, fuck. Talk about like MTV. But I mean, I feel like VH1 doesn't get their just due with all the behind the musics and the
Rock of Love.
The fucking what was it?
Real Life.
The fucking
Which they're
Flavor
bringing back.
Are they really?
Flavor of Love. Yeah, Surreal Life is coming back. CJ Perry is on it, bro. Lana is gonna be on the return season of the Surreal Life. Yes, trajectory for her. Like she's another one who's gonna just break right into mainstream and lift off. But yeah, the Surreal Life is back. It's back.
Oh, well, R.I.P. We don't get Vern Troyer on a fucking scooter pissing in the middle of the corner drunk and shit.
But R.I.P. forever and ever.
R.I.P. 100%. I have a fun reality TV show story, especially in regards to Flavor of Love. Want to hear it?
Oh yeah.
Oh shit! Yes. Don't forget the Stallionaires. Oh, I see you walking. You don't. Oh.
What? No. Refresh me.
Weren't they the brothers that were trying to get Jesus Christ? What's her name?
Sounds so familiar to me.
Megan. Yes.
When Rock of Love. Oh, and they had to cancel that. Remember, because the guy who won it killed his real life girlfriend.
Yes. Yeah.
You cannot make this shit up.
No, can't.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. They had to cancel her show because she came out in the last year or two and did a reunion or did an interview about that. Was like, listen, my life was over after that. Like, that was it.
That was it.
She got that spinoff. It got canceled.
Yeah. Well, you want to, I mean, not as bleak. I mean, that was fucking dark. That was fucking dark. I thought my story was going to be dark, but you win. Rehashing that. But actually, what's her name? It's Brooke. But I believe her name was Honey. The one that spat at, God, what's her name? Tiffany
Pollard.
Yes.
The QBRC.
Yes.
Queen, New York.
Yes. New York. That's it. Right. So the one who's Brooke, I believe her name was Honey on the show, right?
Oh,
the one
they spit at each other. Pumpkin.
Yes. Pumpkin. Yes. And it's the holiday season. There's a missed opportunity there. She should have pumpkins. Yeah, I know. So I love it. I absolutely love it. But yeah, so Brooke, I don't know if you guys remember, but she was actually a teacher in Bakersfield in Central California, right?
Like when it was all going down?
When it was going down. And when that show debuted, they fucking fired her ass. So she had to go hard in the paint with the reality stuff, right? And when it didn't work out, this is probably right after, didn't they have like a charm school where they were trying to?
Yes. Yes, I can. The host of that was the mom from the Parkers.
Yes.
And she got canceled in Hollywood.
Yes, Monique.
Difficult, but she's probably, yes.
Monique. Yeah, 100%.
We got it all up here.
See,
The two of us. We got it all.
We should have, man, imagine us at AfterBuzz. It would have been.
I feel some sort of 90s after show brewing here. I just do. I don't know what it is yet, but I feel it happening.
Just saying. We'll do the LA thing about the people calling the people and stuff. Or I'll just call you. But yeah, so I think it was a season or two after the last Pumpkin VH1 iteration, right? So she was back in Bakersfield, right, trying to figure out her life. Didn't look the greatest, and like the Hollywood life definitely got to her. Right. And I was working at a FedEx office, never Kinko's during my run, but FedEx office doing 8x10s because she was doing the convention loop, right? And I was just
back in that day, my guess is there was actually a person. Now we can all print them off at home or we just send them digitally. But like you were a guy who was sitting at some place in Hollywood printing off everybody's headshots 8 hours a day, every single day.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that was so. I think Pumpkin was my first reality person. I mean, not even real. A first celebrity I'd ever met in my life. Right?
Love that.
Yeah. So and that we'd just talk and whatever. I think I might still have a Pumpkin sign 8x10, because I just gave her a freebie. Like I was like, Brooke, whatever the fuck, and upgraded card stock because card stock works, right? But but she was trying to figure out her life, and she had a son, and it was it was a whole thing. So hopefully, Pumpkin's okay. But this was what 10? No, this was like what I left FedEx in 2012, so this had to be mid 2000s, really, 2009 or 10.
With all the other 2000s revamps that are happening, all those tours that like B2K and everybody are on, I can only hope that someone like her can at least make a living from their past, whether she's doing podcast interviews or starting a YouTube channel, which is something we're starting to see from a lot of those stars. They're telling the behind the scenes stories. Holly Madison is doing it right now from Girls Next Door. Whatever she can do, I really hope she can capitalize on all of us knowing that about her, remembering her, and like remembering what she went through.
Yeah, it was a rough one, man, and that was like right at the height of the TMZ, whatever the hell. And I think it was a bit of a reprieve for her because, you might go to see Cat Williams in Santa Clarita-esque, but you're not going all the way to Bakersfield for Pumpkin.
To see Pumpkin, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So, right on. Yes, Pumpkin's been at New York, 100%. AfterBuzz reunion show. It might happen. All poor Pumpkin, 100%. Thoughts and prayers. One prayer. I mean, one like equals one prayer, right? I think that's the thing. One like equals one prayer. That's usually the post. When
and a dislike equals you're going to hell, so stop hitting that dislike button. 1000%. But obviously, people are not going to hit the dislike
button with you, Christy Olson. But obviously, there have been a lot of people who have been instrumental, both professionally and personally, that have gotten you to this particular point. So let's get some shout outs out of the way.
Oh, 100 million, trillion, billion percent have to start top of the list. Maria Menounos and Kevin Undergaro. Not just because of what they built at AfterBuzz that brought us all together, but just because of the other private moments off camera. We all experience being in that setting and wanting their time and attention. I worked at their house for a year, and every minute of every day had somebody that I could go to, and just all the magic that happened in my life because of them. And even to this day, all the things that I was exposed to, the experts that I met on Maria's show who have made a difference in my life. Again, the things that I know now because of what I've been exposed to because of them, my life is completely different than what I could imagine it would have been. So they're at the top of the list. Right up there with them, Sean Waltman, Mr. X-Pac. Aside from the story I already told where he was so detrimental to be like, hey, they're leaving. Vince is coming. Stand there and smile. And I can still think, and Vince walking right by and looking at me standing there smiling, going, and smiling right back, because I knew he was coming. Like, I'm so appreciative for that, but just the every second of sitting next to him, next to the Sean Waltman, next to X-Pac, as he brought his friends in and interviewed them, and as he broke down like the wrestling news, there could have been nothing that would have been more valuable to me in learning about the business, learning how to speak about the business. I'm so grateful for that. Lillian Garcia, who made sure when she knew I was going, which was a whole thing, and I wasn't even supposed to tell anybody, and she wanted me to do an interview on her podcast, and they wouldn't allow me, and it got a little sticky from there. But I would really want her to know always that I am grateful to her and that I have so much respect for her, and just every single superstar that I worked with while I was there for that year to go into and I worked at the PC every single day. I was there all day, every day. While everybody else was training, I was there seeing them train, working on my craft, being amongst the coaches and everybody else. And I just have such an incredible amount of respect for those people. If they didn't put their lives on the line every second of every day to entertain us, I wouldn't have a job. So I guess they should go at the top of the list. And man, I'm sure there are a lot of others who deserve mention too, but I just like to think that I hope that as much as they've helped me, that I've given them something as well. And I just hope that that's kind of the spirit that we all can live in. I've learned a lot, and I was young at one point too, and I would have done absolutely anything to get what I was working for back in the day. And now that I realize there's so much more to it than that, and that it can be a group effort, and that I can get something out of helping other people realize the dreams that I realized too, that's pretty exciting also. So I just feel really blessed, and I have no complaints about where I've been or where I'm going. I've been in a bit of a stalemate lately, just personally, but I just always know that I can look to people like you, Adam, and like Farmer and Flobo, and you guys who are creating things and are out there really believing in what you can do and make happen. That keeps me going. So I'm eternally grateful, not just to Sean Waltman and Maria Menounos, but to the Adam Woods of the world as well.
That means a lot coming from you, because when I was the past 5 years pre-COVID and, going and doing interviews at MMA shows for little to no money, or going all the way 2 hours, to Orange County to be on a podcast, I was watching all of you guys and gals on AfterBuzz and said, maybe one day, maybe someday, and just to have you here to say those kind things, it means the world to me. Oh my God. But 2 quick hits before we go. All right. Do you hold over the fact that you might have had a better first WWE run than one Eric Bischoff, that you nailed your audition and he didn't?
his old school audition was like a broomstick or something.
Yes.
I can guarantee you that I was at least dressed far more risque than he was for my audition. There was probably a lot more people watching. I was literally right in the middle of the ring at the PC with everybody around for my audition. Not to say that that's any more or less daunting than what he was up against with a camera back in the day. But he and I have had such fun kind of reliving that moment too. And Renee's is out there as well. Like when she came into that, I didn't have to do all that. So again, just so much respect to everybody who came from before you. And you don't realize that until you go in there. And that's why I'm so grateful for those experiences. Like if I had never had an audition there, I wouldn't realize how crazy that was, him with the broomstick and the whole thing, you know? So I remember Ryback saying something when I really wanted to get there. And he said, if your whole life depends on getting there, or like if that's your whole thing, it's not going to happen for you. Mm-hmm. Like if that's what you're basing your worth on, you're not going to be worthy. Exactly. And I remember hearing that and freaking out.
Wow.
Because that was all I wanted. That was all I was working toward. And if that meant that I wasn't going to get it, then I had a problem. And I was terrified by that. And it was what ended up kind of, you know, being the end of my time there, looking at that as the end all be all. And so I hope that everybody out there listening can take whatever from this that inspires them and that just keeps them taking that next step forward. It doesn't mean it has to be a step towards the best, greatest thing. It can just be the next small step that gets you feeling better and happier and feeling more value for yourself than you did yesterday. And I'm kind of getting to the point in life where I'm good with that. Just inspiring people a little bit. And thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Fun, Adam.
Oh, I appreciate it. And the missus, you're totally over with the missus. She's like literally mouthing off like, oh, Christy, she's going to be my friend. Like that's
yes, I want to meet her.
Oh, 100%. She didn't come to the Kaufman's party and what have you, but we're working on it. Hopefully that's the key that unlocks her coming out of COVID and the whole quarantine thing. That hey, Christy Olson's gonna be there. Hell yeah.
Yes. Come on down. Also, like I have been alone for the last 2.5 months. My husband is a farmer and he has been in Minnesota dealing with harvest and some health problems in his family. So like he's going to be back in about a week or so and I'll be back on the social scene. We can get together. We can do some drinks.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Drinks cool, man. And we talked 100%. Now we talked a lot about WWE and some of the not so nice je ne sais quoi, but overall, do you have a favorite moment or memory or string of such?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked me this because this was also the night that probably could have been the worst. It was probably the thing that put the nail in my coffin, but also is the greatest night of my life. A live event, the only time ever that I announced for TV. It was an NXT episode late November 2017, I want to say. We were at the Aztec Theater in, I believe, San Antonio.
Wow.
Right? Is that where there's like the Riverwalk and stuff?
Yes.
And it was just absolutely, we showed up there and it's so scenic with the Riverwalk and everything. You drive up in the bus. We unloaded, and that was the most hype, fun fans I had ever been in front of. I had come from the indies, and going into these WWE crowds was a little bit, it was more structured for me and what they wanted me to do. And there it felt like 500 indie fans. There were snafus like the person who was supposed to tell me that Triple H was going to come out right at the beginning, get the F out of the ring, didn't tell me that. So all of a sudden people were screaming at me to get out of the ring when that was the first thing I did was walk up and get in the ring. There were all those snafus. There were the fact that I had been being trained for weeks on this announcer voice that is disgusting. You listen to it, it doesn't sound like me. It's horrible. Again, it's the reason why they think I can't announce when that was the only night of my entire life I ever announced like that, because that's what I thought they wanted. So many things that I could look at as like, but the people there made that night the greatest night of my wrestling career. So much great energy, so much fun, being able to announce, the winner is, and getting out there, the next match is. For TV, it's just a different energy. I did that a million times for live shows, but it's just a different energy. And that was hands down Triple H there sitting watching the greatest night of my pro wrestling career, thanks to those fans that were there.
Shout out to San Antonio, man.
Yes!
Oh, yes. And all the people that have supported your career thus far. You gained a new one in the missus there.
Oh, hey, Mary.
Yeah. Hey, Mary. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, see, is that your?
Yeah, that's her, and that's Owen, and that's me. So, yeah, absolutely. Owen is our youngest son. So, I guess I could say this. So, when Mary and I met, a little bit of an age difference, right? About 14 years. And then also she came in with 3 kids. They were 12, 9, and 7. Lyle, Cyan, and Evan. Lyle is 27. Cyan is what makes me the grandfather and the only girl. She's 24. With Abel as 3 years old is the grand.
Oh my God, so cute! I bet.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, he was just here. I gush. I totally gush. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. And then Evan, who's still at home, he's 22. And then we've got Owen, who's in the picture, bringing up the rear. I guess he would be my bloodline. And yes, he's 14, just turned 14.
So you weren't super clear before. Is he named after Owen Hart, or was that just a name your wife was on board for, and you were like, yeah, Owen? 100% named
100%,
after Owen Hart.
100%. Okay. Because here's the thing. If you notice, I go by Woods.
That's good.
So I go by Woods because I don't like my first name. It's not that I don't like it. I just have heard over the years, and again, all the places that we moved, hey, Adam, where's Eve? To the point where I got to Inglewood and I had a bit of chip on my shoulder, and I would like, hey, Adam, where's Eve? And I punch people. I'm not the toughest.
She married some British guy who has 3 kids. She ain't coming back to the U.S.
She's not coming back. Yeah, exactly. So then when Mary goes, Adam Jr., and I'm like, no, fuck no, we're not doing that, right? And she's like, well, do you have something better? I'm like, Owen, right? And my ethos was, my birthday is May 7th. Owen Hart's birthday is May 7th, right?
Oh.
And yes, 100%. And it's kind of crazy because like my mom loved, we were in San Francisco. She loved Joe Montana. Joe Montana and my mom have the same birthday.
Oh my
So that's cool. So Owen and I have the same birthday. So I was just like, that's who I want my son to be named after, because outside of like, the Austin paralysis deal, nobody had anything bad to say about Owen. He was always the life of the party, the jokester, cut horrible situations with a knife because he tied your shoelaces together or hung your toiletries, handcuffed him to the ceiling. So I was like, hey, if we're going to have a son, that's the name. And it's actually Owen James Kamakamita. That's a part of the featuring part, Woods. Because Brett didn't go with Woods. So there's that. Yeah, just saying.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my God. And I can only imagine with parents like you and Mary that he's going to appreciate all that, like appreciate all that too for his whole life.
And if he doesn't, right before COVID, Mary and I went to Phil Collins at the Forum, which is amazing, right?
Oh, wow.
And he has his son drumming because he's not in a good physical way. His back is fucked, his foot is fucked, and everything like that, right? And this is the first time that the Dodgers went to the World Series in recent times, right? Mm-hmm. And they lost, and Phil was just like, hey, I know you guys had other choices of places to be right now and what have you, and we're glad that you're here with us. I heard the Dodgers lost, and then everybody's like, rrr. It's like, not that I give a shit because I'm British and I live in Miami, but if it's okay with you, let's have a good fucking time and launch into the first song. But with Phil, one of the greatest drummers who ever lived, he can't do it anymore. So his son Nicholas is his drummer, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, hey, the band clears the stage and it's just Nicholas comes back from the kit and there's a grand piano that's there. And he's like, Phil, he's such an enigmatic personality, even though he was just sitting on the stool singing the songs and everything. But he's just like, of all the songs that I've done, the Genesis catalog, my own solo stuff, hiring him to be a part of the tour, making a nice little payday. Do you know how many songs that Nicholas actually likes of mine? He's like 1. And it's an obscure Genesis track from like 1976 that I didn't know the words to. But if it's okay with you guys, let's sing it. And it's a wonderful, tender moment between father and son.
And did you know it? Like, did the fans know?
No.
Oh,
no,
nobody did.
Nobody did. At a 3-hour concert, everybody singing the words. Everybody was just looking at each other like,
oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. So if Phil Collins is just a dude, just dad to his son,
to his dad,
then, yeah, absolutely. Like, fuck it. I'm okay. I do this thing. He might think I'm the drizzling shits, and that's fine. It's cool.
Oh my God. You make it sound so nonchalant, but I can only think that your son probably thinks you're a rock star. Even if he doesn't let you know that, I'm sure that he thinks you are, because I know that you are.
I appreciate that, but we got to keep kayfabe alive. So he's like, nah, that wrestling shit. No. Yeah, I don't know. And Christy, obviously, for people that want to get more acquainted with you, everything that you're doing, everything that you're podcasting, all that jazz, where can they find you on the interwebs? Even though I linked them right here.
It's right here, but I always love to connect with you guys at Christy Reports. My YouTube channel is Christy Reports. If you love this reality TV stuff, I cover a lot of that over there. This has been so much fun, Adam. Like, holy crap, so much fun.
You're awesome. You're really awesome. That's it. Which you guys are awesome too. Thank you, Christy, for joining us here. But thank you guys for watching us here at According to Woods. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I mean, Christy, you're subscribed, aren't you?
For sure.
Oh yeah. So be like Christy Olson and go ahead and subscribe. Awesome interview, says the wife. But yeah, be like us and subscribe to the podcast. And if you don't believe me, you don't believe Christy, and I don't know why you wouldn't, well, guess what? Here's another NXT alumnus to help convince you, Zeta Zhang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to According to Woods YouTube.